Derrel Josh Johnson here with Stephen A. Smith from ESPN Radio and ESPN Proper. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Good, thanks. Knicks this year. What do you think of the team?
I think they're okay. I think they're a playoff team. But to be quite honest with you, that notion bores me. They've been in the playoffs the last couple of years. They've been bounced out in the first round. I'm sick and tired of seeing that. The money that they've invested in this franchise, we need to see more than that. And I'm hopeful that they can get out of the first round. But in order to do that, you're going to need to, in all likelihood, finish as a top 4 or 5th or 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. And it's something that I don't believe they can do without Amar'e. And unfortunately, at this moment in time, he's not 100% healthy. He's not even playing tonight, which I think is an impediment to their progress. So, you know, we gotta wait and see attitude. We know Miami and Boston are going to be the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. We know that Indiana is no joke. We know that Philadelphia acquired the second best big man in the game in Andrew Bynum. And we know that the Brooklyn Nets are to some degree loaded in terms of their backcourt, which is one of the best in the game. Brook Lopez, Gerald Wallace, and Chris Humphries are no scrubs. Only thing I have against Chris Humphries is that he lasted 72 days with Kim Kardashian. He could have done better than that. Outside of that, nothing. So for me, when I look at the parts on the Brooklyn Nets, they all seem to fit correctly. And they mesh better than the New York Knicks. But they don't have Carmelo. So if Carmelo explodes, all bets are off. They can do some damage. But it seems to me like it's going to take that unless Amar'e gets healthy.
What do you, do you think we've seen the best of Carmelo Anthony in his career yet? And what would you like to see Carmelo do on a basketball court?
I'd like to see Carmelo Anthony get out of the first round. You've been in the league 9 years. You got drafted in the same draft as LeBron James. You were the number 3 overall pick. You are an elite, unstoppable scorer in this game. There is no way that you should have 8 first-round exits on your resume in your first 9 years in this league. He's just too gifted for that. And I'm not saying it's all his fault. I'm simply saying that that is a part of his resume. And he has to be committed to changing that. And to me, he's got to take that bull by the horn and take it upon himself to position the New York Knicks as best as possible to avoid Boston and Miami in the first round. And if he can do that, he'll have a good shot of getting out of the first round. And again, we're not talking championship here, because they're not the Miami Heat. And the Miami Heat are in the Eastern Conference. And clearly the New York Knicks are not better than them. But if you're going to go out, how about going out like Boston did last year? How about pushing them to Game 7? How about getting to the Eastern Conference Finals? How about shocking the world by continuing to play better than anybody anticipated or expected that you would do? You can do that. That's conceivable. That's within your grasp. And I think that that's what we need to be talking about when we're talking about our expectations for the New York Knicks, as opposed to them going to the playoffs and getting out of the first round yet again.
The New York Knicks opponent tonight, the Miami Heat, defending world champions. How good can they be with the pieces that they added?
Nobody can beat Miami. Nobody can beat Miami. The only team that has a remote shot to me are the Los Angeles Lakers or the Clippers, believe it or not, or the Spurs. And by that, what I mean is teams with formidable front lines that can cause you havoc on a defensive end that would negate LeBron James and Chris Bosh from being able to post up. If you turn the Miami Heat into a perimeter game, you have the best chance of beating them. The problem is you had a better chance of beating them last year. This year, they got Mike Miller healthy. They still have Mario Chalmers. They still have Shane Battier. And they went out and got, statistically, the greatest three-point shooter in NBA history in Ray Allen. How in God's name are you going to be able to deal with that, especially when you got 2 guys that are going to get you wide open shots in Dwayne Wade and LeBron James? I mean, uncontested shots that you've never had in your career. I don't see how it's possible. I see the Miami Heat as a juggernaut. I don't think anybody can beat them. And I do mean anybody as in nobody. I cannot see it. I see them strutting to the NBA championship.
Great comment there. Final question. What is your assessment of the James Harden trade last week?
I wish it hadn't happened because James Harden is a hell of a player, but he wanted his money. And in this NBA climate, there's absolutely nothing wrong with James Harden going to get his money. 5 years, $80 million. He deserves it. He's worth it. I don't see it as a problem. I truly don't. I'm not sitting there and passing up on $26 million to remain in Oklahoma City. I don't care how good the team is. I'm not doing it. Now, had he turned down, $54 million because he wanted the 60, and then he went and got 60 from somewhere else, I'd be disappointed in him because that's $6 million. No, you don't sit there and pass up an opportunity to play for a championship contender alongside Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook for that. But for $26 million, I totally understand. With that being said, they got Kevin Martin from Houston. Kevin Martin can play. Kevin Martin can score. And although he didn't drop 37 and 12 in his opener the way James Harden did, he did have 15 points. Maybe if he were playing with a point guard that was willing to give up the ball in Russell Westbrook, he'd have had more points. Instead of him shooting 6 for 21 and having 6 turnovers, including turning over the ball with 5 seconds left and then losing his defensive assignment for the game-winning shot to Tony Parker. So all of those things being the case, Kevin Martin is not an upgrade, but he offsets it to some degree. Jeremy Lamb delivered a national championship to UConn. He's got promise. You got 2 first-round picks. You look at what they got for him. They certainly didn't take a step back. It may look that way now. I'm confident in Scott Brooks and Mo Cheeks and those boys that it won't look that way come May. And so for me, I just look at it and say it's something that had to be done. It's a deal that worked out for both sides.
Thanks a lot, Stephen.
No problem. Take care.